What's up, it's Joshua. I'm not going to talk about the untold stories because that's what I'm working on right now. The untold stories, like I'm not even doing anything else. That's number one right now. That's what I'm doing. But anyway, I want to talk about like something that I said. All right, I was talking about how people in this world are not in control. And like whatever, I don't want to get into the esoterics of what God does, what God needs from us, or like where we stand. Are we supposed to do this, or are we in a contribute? Are we contributing with God? Like, does God need me to do that? That's like esoteric stuff that I really don't like to talk about. And I was coming down on economy. I was like, it really doesn't because I mean, God is God. If God wants to see, that's the rub. If God wants to change it, I can. When I was in like, there's parts of the story when I was coming through South Carolina when I got down, I got to um, Calk's Ferry, right? Before that, $200 had disappeared. When I was in Washington D.C., it disappeared. I was like, but I wasn't worried about it. I still had some money, and I was like, I don't know, God took it, whatever. 'Cause He does this to me all the time. Like, and that's the first time. Like, he usually, back, he usually just takes my stuff. He's like, here, because he's like, I want you to go here. And I'm like, come, whatever. That's between me. But the $200 had disappeared. But I still had some money, right? And that was like a month and a half, or like where did I leave DC? I don't even know. Went up to Fredericksburg and then I went down to Raleigh and then I walked all the way through. Right. Well, I had spent that money, and I know that I spent that money because I had got on the metro. I bought the ticket from Fredericksburg to Raleigh, and then I made the mistake of buying an Amtrak ticket because I was like, "Oh my god, I got to get on this bus, and I got to make sure that I can get to Fredericksburg." So I paid $33, and it was like the rest of my money. I mean, when I got to Raleigh, I only had $7, right? But that $200 had disappeared before that. So I walked through Raleigh. You saw the videos are up there. I go to Chapel Hill. I go to Greensboro. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The journey rings, whatever. And I get to South Carolina, and uh, I get to Charlotte. I get out of Charlotte, and whatever. I get down, and like this is the end of the journey, right? And the hard part about South Carolina, and I knew this when I looked at the map. There's no towns in between. North Carolina, yeah, because South Carolina is just built different, right? And even when you're walking through a town, you're not really walking through a town. You're walking through a county, right? I'm like, well, try sorry. You're walking through a county, and all the houses are spread out. It's not like you're gonna run into like a store, or like there's somebody there that's gonna give you. So like, I mean, I can go a couple days or whatever, but you know, I like when I'm anyway. It doesn't matter how I plan out my journey, but I like to go like 25. I like North Carolina. Like I know that the next town is about 25 miles, 30 miles, so I can walk there all day. And I know that when I get there, I'm probably gonna be able to find some water. I'll probably I'll be able to figure it out. But South Carolina was a little bit different, and I get to Calk's Ferry, and I'm like I'm lost. I mean, I'm not gonna get into the story. Like he took my directions from me. I had these directions written out because before I left, Columbia, I wrote out detailed directions. I was like, you're not getting me this time. I wrote them out this way, this way, this way, and he leads me on this path. I go down this Nazareth thing to Calk's Ferry. I sit down at the side of the road and I open up the backpack, and there's this Chase Bank envelope in there, right? Chase Bank. I'm like, and I rip it open. There's the $200 right there. Put it back in my bag. I was like, oh my god, I mean, because I was like, because this will get me through. And I like, and the whole time, it took me a minute, but I was like, there's got to be a gas station or something. But I think the point. I forgot what the point of the line, right? So, here's what the point. So I know that God can do that. I know that personally. Like whether you want to believe it or not, or whatever. I know God can, which brings to the point of what my purpose is here and what I'm going to lead people to. But we're not at that point yet. So that's when, like, when I made those statements that I made about the economy or whatever, I'm like, why go? It comes down to the question of, is it important why I do what I do or how I do what I do, or why God wants me to do this, or how, like, those are esoteric questions. But I know that God can do that. So when I'm talking about the economy or and stuff like that, like, it really wasn't from a point of fact of like, you're not. It's like, because I've seen that stuff. God fix this world 2 seconds. How He's gonna have me do that, work through me to do that, is not important. I just want to clarify what I was thinking, because a lot of the stuff I don't talk about the esoteric stuff that is really going around about really what I see. And, like, it's really diminishing sometimes to realize that. I mean, you guys always have to. I'm really not in control. Like, I really, like, you know, God's made a very clear point to me over and over. I'm really not. Whatever, that's between me and him. But the thing is, like, when I was talking about the economy and stuff, and this is from even before this God stuff, it's really uh, an the economy, even without the God, it's really an arbitrary thing. It really is. Who said that a mailbox is worth $14? But the economist said, because we have the economy. It's an arbitrary rule system that you guys made up. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but it's an arbitrary thing, and it really doesn't exist. So I'm like, when I was making those statements, it was really from an esoteric point. I mean, I understand economics and how, like, I'm not an economic expert, but I understand cost, demand, and all that stuff. But it really is, it's an arbitrary thing, you know. Now, these rules have been set up, whether this system is a proper system and everything, it seems to work. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not saying there's not validity in it. So, look, I just want to clarify. Like, well, I don't know. I didn't put those videos. Anyway,